Test, test, test. I see that the sound system is working now. Okay, cool. I can hear myself. Okay, so this is the new link. Okay, cool. So we have some viewers now. I'm gonna email the working URL to the rest of the members who RSVP'd yes to this meetup. Okay, so in the live chat, you guys can hear me, right? Yay, cool. So Stefan replied, hopefully, yes, you can hear me, and the rest of you can hear me. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So as always, technology must have problems whenever you need it to work most. But when you don't need it to work like properly, if you're, okay, like I'm not gonna say if you're playing a game or something, but it's gonna work properly. But if you want to present an important topic, like our topic for today, which is self-reconfigurable modular robotic systems, you will run into some issues. Apologies for that. Sorry again for the people who left the first meetup. Oh, because I can see that some people didn't come back. But hopefully they will get the message and will come back later. If you guys don't have time, please bookmark the link and come back later to watch the rest of the webcast. So let's start. And as usual, we will start by asking for your proposals. We want to hear from you. We want to learn more about the new cool projects that you're working on. So please send us your ideas, your comments, your research methods, your research ideas, projects, and let's do this together. So our agenda for today will cover an introduction, and then self-reconfiguration robotic classes, then some applications, and finally, conclusion. So in the last meetups, we mentioned that modularity benefits include the capability of self-assembly and self-reconfiguration. We mentioned or we discussed self-assembly in the last meetup. Today, we're going to go through self-reconfiguration. So modular self-reconfigurable robots involve various modules that can combine themselves autonomously into a meta-module or a structure that is capable of performing a specific task under certain circumstances. Self-reconfigurability allows these robots to metamorphose, which is like move, which in turn makes them capable of performing different sort of kinematics. They can move as a caterpillar or as a wheel, or they can have legs and walk. So we will have different sorts of kinematics or movements. So let's talk about self-reconfigurable robotic classes. We have 5 different classes: lattice, chain, or tree, mobile, deterministic, and stochastic, excuse me. So we will start about talking or discussing lattice architecture. In this architecture, modules are arranged in a 2D or 3D pattern or virtual grid that can be used as a guide for modules to determine their positions and form the new shape. All modules in this architecture remain attached to the main body. When units move only to neighboring positions within a lattice, Planning and control become less complex compared to when units move to any arbitrary position. Lattice architectures are capable of offering simpler reconfiguration compared to the next classes that we're going to cover next. So next we have chain or tree architecture. Modules are connected together in a string or tree topology. Cool. The modules reconfigure by attaching and detaching to and from themselves. This is a little bit tricky and hard to implement. Generally, the chain could be used as a robotic arm or a leg, just to simplify the concept. However, despite the difficulty, chain architectures are more versatile compared to other architectures because they are capable of reaching any point in space through articulation. Again, but they are more difficult to control and more computationally expensive. Next, we have mobile architecture. Modules detach in this architecture from the main body and maneuver independently using the environment to link up at new locations in order to form new shapes, which makes mobile architecture less explored compared to the previous structures because the reconfiguration difficulty that outweighs the functionality gain. It is a little bit hard to implement this architecture. Excuse me. Excuse me. Next, we have deterministic architecture. In this architecture, modules move directly to their target locations during the self-reconfiguration process. So each unit's location can be known at all times or calculated at runtime such that reconfiguration times are guaranteed. And that makes deterministic architecture easier to implement compared to other architectures. In my opinion, at least. Next, we have stochastic architecture. In this architecture, modules move in a two-dimensional or three-dimensional environment using statistical processes such as the Brownian motion, which are used to guarantee reconfiguration times. So the exact location of each unit is only known when it's connected to the main structure. But the paths taken by those units to move between locations are unknown. So next, we're going to cover the applications. Of course, some of these applications, we discussed them in the last couple of meetups, modular robotics and self-assembly robotics. And some of them are new, and we will discuss them or go through them for the first time. So let's start by the first application, which is Polybot. So Polybot is the first modular robotic system to demonstrate self-reconfiguration by changing its geometry and locomotion mode depending on the terrain type. So it can roll over a flat terrain and change its shape to a shape similar to a worm, like an earthworm type, in order to avoid obstacles. It can also change its shape to a spider shape. I don't know, like what a spider can do that an earthworm cannot do. Maybe walk, I don't know, maybe jump. If you guys have an idea, please type it in the chat window. Programming the motion of a modular system that is composed of n number of modules. can be difficult, especially if n is large. So reconfigurations can be pre-planned offline between every member of the set and stored in a table to simplify the process, especially when a fixed number of configurations is sufficient or is enough. So let me ask you a question here. What do you think the class of polybot is? And I'm waiting for your answers. Well, I have some great comments from Stefan. Okay, Walker versus Crawler. This is because there is a delay, so probably this comment is about the spider and the earthworm. Yeah, that's cool, and thank you very much. So again, my question now is, what is the class of polybot? What is the class of polybot? I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. Okay, if your answer is chain or tree, then you're correct. If your answer is lattice, then it's correct, because polybot class is hybrid. It is a combination of both chain and lattice architecture. So next we have crystalline, which is similar to muscles movement. I mean, the movement, the expansion and contraction of the atoms in the crystalline robot is similar to muscular movement. So let's go through crystalline. Crystalline is a self-reconfigurable robot that is capable of assuming any arbitrary geometric shape in a dynamic fashion. Crystalline module motion is controlled by attaching one atom excuse me, to a neighboring atom and actuating the expansion or compression mechanism that we covered in our last meetups. So an individual module cannot relocate without help. However, by contracting and expanding a group of modules in a coordinated way, atoms can move relative to a structure through the volume of crystal on a concave structure. Well, that's hard. That will make it difficult to implement and maybe to commercialize. That you need a special material in order for these atoms or modules to move. So again, let me ask you another question. What is the class of crystalline? Yay, some people said chain. That was correct. I guess that was for the previous answer. Well, we have the same answer also for crystalline. Crystalline is not chain. Crystalline class is lattice. Yes! Perfect, perfect, perfect. Naveen said lattice. You are correct. Stefan is asking about something similar to crystalline, similar structure that allows walking. Yeah, absolutely, yes, yes, because it's highly inspired by the masculine system, like the muscles, movements. So you're absolutely right. We saw it in labs, in real lives, everywhere. So next we have telecubes. Just by looking at the module, clear that the concept of telecubes is very similar to crystalline. Each module consists of a cube shaped with 6 degrees of freedom. So, okay, again, because there is some delay, I need to take some time. So the gentlemen here are discussing some interesting research ideas. Yes, Naveen mentioned that Crystalline, let me go back to Crystalline, is a research topic that was done in MIT. That's absolutely right. And yeah, if you guys search in IEEE Spectrum, thank you, Naveen, for sharing this information with us. And thank you, Stefan, for asking also the question. You can find a lot about it. Just go to Google Scholar and you will find a lot of useful resources about these technologies. So back to telecubes. Okay, telecubes consist of cubes-shaped modules. Each cube has 6 degrees of freedom. When it comes to reconfiguration, it is assumed that the initial and final configurations overlap by at least 1 metamodule. There is a configuration algorithm, so let's go through it. The first step is selecting a module that can begin motion based on the minimum Manhattan distance through the structure from this module to a module in the final structure. The second step is planning a route for that module through the structure that consists of move, roll, and sroll commands using a technique similar to the Pac-Man algorithm. And finally, execute the pre-planned motions. So this algorithm is simple, however, it lacks local decision-making, completeness of reconfiguration, and it lacks as well parallel execution. So next we have Mtrend. We went through Mtrend, I think, twice already. Oh my God, Mtrend is very powerful. We discussed it actually in modularity meetup and in self-assembly meetup, and now again in self-reconfiguration meetup. So Mtrend is a distributed self-reconfigurable system composed of homogeneous robotic modules. The system can change its configuration by changing each module's position and connection. However, changing the posture of one module is difficult. Why it's difficult? Can you give me some guesses? Just look at the diagram on the left and guess why it is difficult. Yeah, it is super versatile, Stefan. The robot is versatile, is strong. But again, it is difficult to change the posture of one module because each module involves 2 modules in cooperation, which makes the problem more complicated. As you can see here in this diagram, every single module is consisting of 2 parts or 2 modules together. So to cope with such difficulty of planning, 2 types of software have been developed. The first is a motion design interface, which helps a human programmer to design a reconfiguration sequence and motion generation through a powerful graphic interface. The second is a locomotion planner for an Mtrend cluster, in which the above difficulties are relaxed. Not the above, the aforementioned. I'm used to the above and the below because I'm writing papers all the time. The aforementioned, I need to like change my terminology when I'm doing these webcasts. So we're having some comments on Mtrend. Naveen said, these modules use opposing forces, which cause secondary effects. You're absolutely right. In order for the module to move from one position to another, it needs to use opposite forces. You're absolutely right. And Stefan said, the two-part module idea is good. He likes it. They can locomote quite well alone, as well as in a bigger structure. A lot of bang of one. Okay, yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. A lot of bang for one's buck. Of course, it's going to be expensive to implement. So next we have SuperBot. And this is the only slide that I found many different configurations of the same robot. You know, this is probably like a worm, maybe. It's capable of doing a worm movement. This one is a legged robot here. This one, the bottom right, is a single module. And the one on the bottom left, for me, that looks really cool because I think it's capable of rolling and I guess walking. I'm not sure, but these are my guesses. So what do you guys think about these shapes? So Naveen has a question about the effect of gravity and friction, whether they have been studied on these systems. So actually, in the review that I did, I focused on the design of each module and how that makes every system different. Probably, yeah, the gravity and the friction effects are mentioned in some of these papers, not every paper. But I don't remember covering such topics in my review. But yeah, if you go through the papers, you might find some useful information. There is also another request from Naveen. He needs like a comparison, a pro-con comparison between hardware bots versus software bots on self-reconfiguration. That's an excellent question. However, I'm running out of time today because of the sound difficulty that we had earlier. So I will go through this request in our next meetup. But I will ask you a favor. Would you please post it on our meetup group so I won't forget? Because I have a bad memory. I'm going to forget immediately if I don't see it on the meetup group website. Stefan is commenting on the SuperBot modules. Yes, absolutely right. Each module is consisting of 2 parts. And he mentioned that Mtrend could form, yeah, similar structure. Absolutely right. Mtrend, which is this one, the robotic system that we just discussed, can, yeah, absolutely form similar structure to SuperBots, excuse me. So last but not least, because we have only 45 minutes, so we need to wrap up in only 4 minutes, we have mBlocks. Before going to mBlocks, I have a question about SuperBot. What is the class of SuperBot? Real quick, I'll give you just 5 minutes because we're running out of time. Excuse me. Okay, the class of SuperBot is hybrid. It is chain and lattice. Similar to what? Similar to the first system that we covered today, which is Polybot. Even the names are similar. So moving quickly to mBlocks. mBlocks has a lattice structure, and the modules are capable of reconfiguring using a variety of motion primitives they can roll and they can rotate through 90 degrees to move to an adjacent position within the same plane. The movements can be vertical, either ascending or descending, or horizontal, supported from any side, including from top to bottom. Hey guys, your answers are correct about the classes, which means that hopefully we did a good job today. So, moving to the conclusion, wrapping up real quick. So today, we presented and we discussed a review of modular self-reconfigurable robotic systems that were created to meet three main goals: versatility, robustness, and low cost. I got some interesting requests for our next meetup. Please, if you have any ideas, if you have any projects that you would like to present in any of our next meetups, feel free to contact me. If you have any questions, feel free to post them underneath the video in the comments after we stop the live streaming, or on the meetup website, which I prefer personally because I can see them. Because unfortunately, when we stop the live streaming, all our chat is going to be gone, unless any one of you has an idea of how to keep that or move it to the comments. I will be very thankful. And after stopping the live streaming, I'm going to post a hackathon sign-up link in case you guys didn't sign up in our last meetup. Please go ahead, click on the link, submit your info, and the meetup is going to take place end of March, beginning of April timeframe. It might be in New York City, but it's going to be in New York metropolitan area for sure. It's gonna be about the same concepts that we're discussing, which is evolutionary robotics, modular robotics, and the hardware that we are going to use is going to be kubelets. So thank you very, very much for your time, for listening, for contributing to this meetup by comments, questions, and everything. And please accept my apologies again for the technical difficulty that we had earlier. I hope you have a great rest of day and rest of week. And thank you very much. And there is a question before I finish about Kubelets Hackathon. Do you know where in Manhattan? No. Yeah, the location is not determined yet. Yeah, probably 80% is going to be in the city. 80%, like 20% is going to be in Connecticut, which is not far. But where in the city exactly? Nope, we haven't decided yet. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you guys like it. And we'll see you soon, probably in a week or 2 or 3. I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.